welcome to Impact 2024, our continuing conversation where we talk about all different types of topics: race, religion, current events, everything. And this is our safe space where we can just have our conversation, have our topics, talk about our different things, have our opinions, and it's a safe where you can say whatever you want. But as always, we ask that you participate. Feel free to type your questions and your comments into the comment section. For those of you who have been here before, you know that the comments, the questions, they help spur the conversation. And so if there's something that we're saying that you do like, go ahead and comment. You don't like, feel free to comment. Or if you just have a question or anything like that. And so this is a conversation, and love the participation. And as always, we're just gonna hop right into it. We got two different, distinct topics, but we're gonna hit both of them. And we have a distinguished guest with us today, who's going to be able to address some of these topics with us. And so I'm going to just go ahead and bring her in, and then I'm going to go ahead and just tee up the topic, and we're going to just get rolling right into it. All right, so we have Christina. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, since you are a resident of Texas, we're going to talk just briefly about the Houston Independent School System. And so the reason that we're going to talk about this story, not that we are big Houston education, blah, 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 blah topic. But the topic is kind of just, it relates to everybody. And so what is happening in Houston is that they have an independent school district. It's the largest school district in Texas. There's been a lot of complaints about the schools. They have schools that are failing academically. And so what has happened is they took over the school district. They brought in a new superintendent and try to overhaul the schools. Very controversial. Not going to talk about one way or the other. But one specific thing that was done was that in some of the schools, over a dozen, when it was originally done last year, over a dozen had their libraries taken out. And the libraries were taken out and replaced with, what's the best way to say it? One of the people who was interviewed about it just basically said they were little jails, but basically places where people, when you get in trouble, that's where you're going to go. So your suspension area or you're just in trouble area. So the library and the books taken out, the librarians either let go or reassigned to some other place, and then those libraries were replaced with disciplinary areas. And so for some people, especially, Houston is huge. There's a diverse population. There's some groups of people where the library, I think, may be important. And so, Christina, my question to you is, you went to school, you're smart, and so, do you think, just looking from afar, do you think that the libraries in today's day and age, we have technology and everything, but do you think libraries are important to kids?
Absolutely. Libraries to me are essential in development at all ages. So whether that be you're a child or an adult, the library does serve a purpose, and it serves a purpose to be, a place where you can learn, where you can go, a place that promotes literacy and connection and community. So I am the vice chair of the City of Kyle Library Board. And so libraries are very near and dear to my heart. It is where I've chosen to devote a lot of my time to, keeping available for people to be able to use. And so hearing about the libraries being closed in the Houston area was very disturbing because, just personally knowing how beneficial it was to me as an individual, and knowing how impactful the libraries are to young children and to adults as well. So I don't particularly agree with closing libraries in lieu of turning them into whatever they've turned them into down there. But it's hard to understand that, there couldn't have been another course of action that the independent school district could have taken. So I do find it awful that they chose to do that, and it is going to have an impact on the youth. because the library does serve a very, very important purpose in youth development.
Yeah, and I know you're aware of this across the landscape of the country, there's huge debates about libraries and what books should be in there and what books shouldn't be in there, and different, I don't know, different discussions with that. I will say this: my son is 7 now, and is a reader now. He can read, but he did not enjoy reading. And one of the things, and with him, and it was also when I was doing a little bit of research about the topic in the article, one of the children was saying a similar thing. It's not about necessarily the library and the books, because then you can always make that argument. Oh, they got tablets, they got the computers and all that kind of stuff. But it's I'm a little kid and I'm going to go to the library, like physically go to the library. And then I get to pick out whatever book that I want. And then this library and these strangers are trusting me to take this book home. And I can pick whatever topic. My son picked like monsters, the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff. And so he had the opportunity to pick his own topic and do all of that and take it home. And so that's why it was a big thing for him and, to start his reading. But my question, even though we just put that out there, my question is, do you think that it provides a kind of like a negative connotation for kids, or a negative thought process for kids when you're sitting here like, okay, reading library may not be important. Let's get more space for discipline. Kind of like, let's make more jails versus let's make more, educational opportunities or colleges, library, whatever. Is that something, do you think that impacts kids, or maybe they don't care that much? What's your...
I don't know for sure, but I would think that it would depend on the age of the child and how aware they are of the situation at large, and whether they were, exposed to the library before it was taken away. So, you can't miss what you never had, so to speak. So, if a child was never introduced to the library, never had an option to utilize that resource, then I definitely think that they couldn't miss it, like as in know that they're missing it, right? Whereas, us as adults, we're like, oh, you never, were able to understand how great the library was and this, that, and the third. So I do think that they probably, the ones who never been able to use it, wouldn't actually miss it and be aware that they're missing it. Now, on the other hand, the children that, the library is their place. They would go there and get the books and really enjoy that. I think that's going to create a huge impact on those children to have something that they particularly enjoyed or particularly were used to, because maybe that might be a part of their day that they don't get to do anymore. So I think that can and will make an impact on those children. Yes.
Yeah. I know it's a weird topic. The superintendent coming in and taking the libraries. In my mind, he's doing the idea that he thinks is best. Hopefully it works. But I don't know. Libraries, I think they're important. But we're going to switch. We're going to pivot now. We're going to pivot all up into your area here as a professional in the real estate realm. So what just recently happened, and I know you're aware that real estate commissions have been set to change. The way that the commissions were going around, and where you were commissioned, where the seller had to pay for both the selling agent and the purchasing agent's commissions as well. And so that's all set to change. And we're not getting into the specifics of that, unless you want to tell us some more specifics of that. But that's all under the guise of maybe we can make things more affordable. As we know right now, the average home is over $410,000, the average home, if you're trying to purchase a home across the country. And so depending on where you are, those numbers can go up dramatically or can go down. Not that much, but they're going to go down a little bit. And then you add on the top of that a 5%, 6%, 7% mortgage. As we know all around, and especially here, we're looking at a affordability crunch. We're looking at a place where, where people can't afford homes. where you're at in Texas, how do you see it out there? Is it pretty bad where it's just not affordable, or is it still kind of affordable? Because we all, from afar, we look at Texas and we always see these things. Texas got affordable homes. Texas got good prices. How is it out there?
Texas is big. So when I hear people say that Texas has affordable homes, Texas has a lot of things. Texas has affordable homes and Texas has not so affordable homes. So it really does depend on where you're looking. Um, there are definitely some cities that you could find some pretty decent homes in, a relatively inexpensive range. And when I say that, it's a relative for everyone because what's affordable for someone is not affordable for someone else. So I would say yes, Texas does have affordable homes, probably on a larger scale than a lot of other places because Texas is just bigger. It's just literally bigger than most other states. So you have that. But when you're getting into like, the not the urban core, but like the metropolitan areas of the bigger cities in Texas, you are going to be seeing quite expensive housing. And you know, Texas population is booming. People are moving here because, industry is good here. Job growth is exploding here. So, people move where they can work. So we're seeing a lot of the influx of population coming into Texas, which those are into those more urban areas because that's where the industry is. So for most folks, they might tell you that it's not as affordable as a lot of people think because they're coming into those more heavily populated areas where the housing prices are more expensive. So when you start getting out into the more rural areas, you will see a drop in pricing.
Hmm. Hey, we got a comment. All housing is affordable. It's about what a person can afford.
Absolutely, it's relative.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then so one of the comments I was listening to some guys actually today talk about housing and the affordability of housing, and they were saying, well, the move now is to just pay cash, which to them may have sounded like a realistic proposition, but to most people, paying cash for a house is not an option. What are some things that organizations can do? Like we know what individuals can do, save some money, do some different things as far as some of the grants and the opportunities that you have out there. But what can organizations do? Like what could a club do, or church do, or just families can do for other family members? Like what's some things you think that can be done to kind of help with the affordability gap? Because look, if I was a young 20-year-old and you told me I needed to come up with a 20% down payment and the average home is $400,000, I'd be like, oh no, that ain't happening.
Yeah, most people aren't paying that. Most people are not paying 20% down because that's, like you said, cash. Cash is king, as is said in the real estate industry, but it's just not as common as it used to be. So what I'm seeing in regards to what clubs can do, what churches can do, is really focus on financial readiness because that is something that a lot of people do not take into consideration when they're looking to buy a home. There are a lot of steps that need to be taken. There are a lot of things that people need to understand in order to be ready to purchase a home, right? So most people are not paying 20% down. Most people are, getting those, are utilizing FHA loan products where that's a 3.5% down. That particular loan product is a little expensive, is a little more expensive in my opinion. And when I say that, I mean it's more expensive over time. So your interest rate might be a little higher than a conventional loan because you're putting less down. And learning what that means as a borrower and as a potential homeowner. So if you don't know what a conventional loan is, if you don't know what a FHA loan is, what your interest rate is made up of, what are property taxes? How do you pay those? That is what I mean when I say financial readiness, because everything looks like a mountain when you don't know what it is. So the more educated you can become on the topic or whatever goal that you're trying to achieve makes it that much more attainable. Now, education is not going to change the price of homes. Okay, it's not going to do that. But what it will do is it will teach you where you can look to find resources to utilize in order to assist you in your home search or in your financing search. So I like to say that buying a home is not about the home, it's about the financing. And if you can get that under your belt first, because you don't have cash, right? You don't have cash. So we have to finance this thing that we're trying to buy. So if you can understand the financial aspects of it, what goes into that, find a really good agent that can help you, find a good loan officer that's going to help you and really educate you on what it is you're getting yourself into, then you could be really set in finding the resources to help you get that down payment. Because if you're a first-time home buyer, most of first-time home buyers do not have that 20% down, as we see. But there are a lot of resources out there. There are like the churches and the groups, they can form some type of down payment assistance programs, and churches and groups can do that on their own, and start helping individuals, households, and families with getting those down payment funds in order to purchase a home.
Yeah. No, that's some good advice. But you're right. Another quick story from me. I remember when I was young, I was making like $40,000, and at the time that was a lot of money, right? And there was this young lady who worked with me who was making like $10 an hour. Now I am living in an apartment. She went out and bought a brand new home, and so it came down to whatever connection she had and how she was able to, what she knew and how she was able to finagle it. Well, I'm sitting here making, 3 times as much as her on an annual basis, and I can't get it done. So I guess it does come down to a lot of knowledge and connections and things like that. And I think you hit a good point for us as, organizations and churches and everything like that, to try to give people assistance, in whatever way we can. Now, I'll ask you this topic, and this is kind of a little bit different. We Americans, with our egos, and you're in Texas, so you get to see a lot more different types of people. We all want to live in our own house. We all want to live by ourselves, whereas some other folk, other cultures, you'll have multiple generations in one home. Is that kind of for us? Should some of us get that out of our head? Like, look, it's okay to live with other people. Do you think that's one of the solutions? How do you feel about that?
So this is a really great question. I'm glad you asked, because I have some, big opinions, big opinions about this. But I'll start with saying that I do see multi-generational living on the rise, seeing it a lot more. I'm seeing it in the clients that I assist. I'm seeing it in the type of homes that builders are building. They're building those homes with that quote unquote mother-in-law suite or father-in-law suite, as you may, whoever wants to, who's ever going to occupy that space. And we are seeing a shift back towards community. And so that's where my big opinions come in. So we may have lost our way a little bit and gotten a little too individualistic, in my opinion, and lost our way in regards to connection and community. And while that may not have been on purpose, and it may have just been the way the world has worked and evolved over time. But what we're seeing now is we're seeing a world that has become very unaffordable for a lot of people in regards to housing. And so when that has happened, people have started to, do what they can. And that's more people living in a dwelling. And so typically people don't live with strangers. So they're gonna, they're gonna, if they live close to family, they're gonna do that. I've seen a lot here recently. Parents moving in with their kids. Granted, they're not kids, of course. We're talking about the millennials. Typically, is what we're seeing. So we're seeing the boomer generation moving in with their kids, and that multi generation on the upswing, big time down here in Texas. And with that, in the home sales department, we're seeing houses get a little bigger because we have more people residing in the dwelling, but that has also ticked up the home prices, right? Because bigger homes, right. More land, and typically amounts to a larger home cost. So absolutely, we're seeing a big uptick in that. I personally love it because it's a back to community, back to family type of situation. And hoping all of that is something that they want to do and not necessarily forcing them to do. We do definitely see that a lot more. And I think I'm just a big community person. I know what it's like to live in the middle, to leave your whole family and move somewhere where you don't know anybody and all that. I've experienced that and know what it's like to not have that community there when you need it. And so to see that coming back into our value system, I think is really special.
You know what? You really put a good silver lining on the crazy home prices because when we've talked about it here numerous times. Community is important, but we've also talked about the rise in depression, the rise in mental health, the rise in suicide rates and other things like that. And some of that is attributed to the fact that we're so isolated, whether it be from COVID, whether it be because we all need to get our own stuff and be away. We don't have to go into work or into the office anymore. We're so stuck on these phones, or we're so stuck on our computers. And so maybe, some of that price is going up is pushing us back together where we have family who can check on us instead of having to only see us once in a while. They're down the hall and they can just come and knock on our door and see what's going on with us and things like that. So maybe that is, one of the silver linings that's out there. Other than the fact that, some families, all right, now y'all all gonna choke each other if y'all are all
right.
under the same roof. But we need to learn how to live together.
That too, yeah. I mean, I definitely think, like I said before, I really find it a fascinating topic, and community is so important. It's so important, and like you said, the mental health aspects of it, like connection, humans we're a social species. So I mean, whether you want to define what social means, does it mean social media, does it mean sitting in front of a screen or whatnot, or does it really mean sitting down across a table with someone and having a conversation? I think there are probably arguments on either side, yay and nay, but there are just going to, seems to me that a lot of households are just going ahead and they're preparing for the future. And in regards to going ahead and combining their households, because people are aging, right? And so that's another cost that families are going to have to think about. And how feasible is it if your family member is so far away and you need to take care of them or need to be able to check on them? Is that going to be beneficial in the long run, or is it going to be beneficial for us to just bite the bullet and just go ahead and all move together now and find a house and that type of thing in order for the preparation of that? So I personally think it's a great thing. I'm sure some people don't, but that's fine. But we prepare for that. It's something that us as realtors we're definitely preparing for. Builders are absolutely preparing for it by building product that would be able to sustain that type of household. And I think we'll just see it continue to rise across the country, honestly.
Yeah. I think we have to prepare for it as well, as just people like getting rid of some of the negative stigma of living with family. Like, oh, you got to take care of them, or oh, they're taking care of you, or da, da, da. Like, no, we are taking care of one another. We're family. We're okay. And even if you're not family, like friends can live together as long as
absolutely,
as long as y'all have gotten everything straight.
Right.
Don't choke each other.
Yes, definitely. It definitely teaches tolerance. And interpersonal skills. If you don't have any, you'll develop some. And just a different way of living. And different is not necessarily bad. It's just a shift. And if there's one thing I know about life, it always changes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining us. I'm not going to let you get out of here without talking about the fact, okay, Texas, there's something going on seismic right now that everybody's talking about. Please tell us, how crazy is it in Texas right now because of this country music / Beyonce thing going on right now? Is it everybody talking about? Just give me something.
Cowboy Carter is taking over in Texas right now, but it's also, it's cowboy culture never went anywhere. It's been here, will always be here in Texas. It's interesting that what we are, or I can't say we, but what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a more prominent, what's the word I'm looking for? Presence of Black cowboy culture. And so that's a little different. So typically, in the media, and when you see cowboy culture, it's typically white cowboy culture. So the fact that it's shifted a bit and we're seeing Black cowboy culture is pretty different. It is refreshing. We have the Houston Rodeo is every year, but this particular year, it seemed like it was just a lot of media coverage over, how large the Black population is that attends the Houston Rodeo. So that was really refreshing because you don't see that on TV. And so it's kind of nice to see that it's getting its recognition like it deserves. And I guess I'd have to thank Beyonce for that, because I think she had a lot to do with it. And with other Black country artists that are getting a lot of attention and that are ranking on the charts right now, it's nice to see. Although you could just go two-step to them anytime in Texas, and you probably couldn't do that in other places in the country. So it's nice to see that they're having a national platform. So it's definitely got its hooks in us too here in Texas for sure.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds good. So you've been breaking out your cowboy boots and your hat a little bit more lately?
Oh, absolutely. I just got a brand new hat. I just got a brand new one like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on, dropping some knowledge on us. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Just to remind everybody, as always, on Thursdays, we have our Bible study Thursday. That's at 7, same place, Facebook, YouTube. And on Sundays, we have worship here at 10 o'clock. This is all Eastern Standard Time, just for the Texas people who may be tuning in, because I had no clue what time it is in Texas. I thought it was like 4 hours difference. Clearly, that's not the case.
It is probably on the far side. Probably on the far side.
Yeah, I know nothing about Texas. I've only been here like twice. So, all right. Well, I want to remind everybody we're here every single week. Same place, same time. Also on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, we have our prayer time. So please feel free to join us. All right. And so for everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the comments that came in, and have a good one.